Hey everyone, welcome back to the third episode of Killer Queen Strategy and the second episode in a three-part series about openers. Last episode I talked about some best practices on how you should be opening on various maps, just the core concepts behind that, and then we went in deep about day map, focusing on how queens should be opening on day map to facilitate their teams. A lot of this episode is going to rely on the first couple minutes of the day map episode, so if you haven't seen that episode, go ahead and give it a look. We'll throw up an annotation for you. For the rest of this episode, we're going to be talking exclusively about night map. One of the things that I really love about night map is it has so much more diversity in openers than day map does. So especially because berries are very strong on night map, whereas they're largely irrelevant on day, that means that teams can open up 2/2 berries or 3/1 snail and compete very well at the top level. Now, that means that when those teams match up against each other, some really interesting stuff happens. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at three matchups. We're going to see what happens when a team running 2/2 berries runs against a team running 2/2 berries. We're going to see what happens when a 2/2 berries goes up against 3/1 snail, and what happens when 3/1 snail goes up against 3/1 snail. And we're going to look at those three matchups and see how people get up their warriors and how they maintain those formations. But before we get to that, I want to talk about best practices for the queen, because the queen on night map has a couple key decisions that she can make at opener that really affect how the rest of the team's going to get up. So let's take a look at that.
Regardless of anything, both queens at opener should line up right here, and their goal should be to either rise straight up to the platform directly below midgate, or to rise straight up to midgate. And this is the only real variance that queen openers on night traditionally have. And everything else branches off from this. Everything on how the entire team opens hinges upon where you're going to send your queen to and where they're going to send their queen to. So the perfect example of that is if, let's say, you open up below middle, but they, in your own gold team, and blue team opens up straight to midgate. This means that what blue's vanilla warrior should do is line up right here so that whenever the barrier drops, they fall directly through the map down and go to this berry pile, and they'll hop up to this platform and then get in midgate. Because your queen, once she takes this spot right here, she can either punish if the blue queen tries to, or if gold queen tries to come up from underneath her, or push out this way if gold queen rises up to meet. Either way, blue queen is in a very advantageous position to get a vanilla warrior up out of middle gate. In the same vein, gold queen has enabled their warrior, their vanilla, to have their drone start here, and at opener, they hop up here, then they go over and hop over to this berry pile, and then they just hop right back to the gate. So they can get one up out of near, and blue gets one up out of middle. And those are the two most common ways that your first vanilla gets up. Now, your primary speed should always line up right here on each side. And then they fall down through the wrap, and they just simply grab this berry, and you don't actually want to land on that ledge. You actually just want to come down without hitting anything. Once you grab the berry right here, you go into speed gate, and then you just fall down either through the wrap over here and go in near gate. That's a super reliable one. Or once your speed coming out of the gate, if your queen still has middle, then just go back to middle. So on night map, your first speed warrior actually does have some variance in where they'll get out, depending on where you're opening. Notably, if blue takes middle gate at opener, it's not going to be safe for the speed warrior to get out of near gate, right gate for blue. It just won't. You'll probably want to get the speed warrior out of middle unless that queen rotates. You'll have to communicate on that. So with that, let's jump into some game footage. I want to show two teams that are opening up 2/2 berries on night map. They're each going to get a speed warrior and each going to get a vanilla. Both queens are going to open up below mid-gate, which enables their vanillas to get out of near gate. And both of the berry runners are going to go immediately, grabbing the berries from the speed berry pile and running those in. You can see each team gets up one vanilla, each out of their near gate. Each one gets up a speed drone. Each one docks in 2 berries. Gold sends their speed drone to right and gets out immediately. Blue sends theirs to middle, and it takes them a little longer to get up, but they do get up. Both vanillas are automatically the defensive objective guards, making sure that the other team does not get in berries, and they go immediately to the hive. But you see some micro movements from blue team that were a little worse than the ones from gold, meaning that they don't get their vanilla there as quickly, and some better maneuvering early on from the speed warrior for gold team meant that gold speed warrior could go immediately and be the offensive guard, that is the clear warrior, clearing out the hive, which is why at this opener you see a slight berry advantage for gold team that diminishes as the game stabilizes. And that's a really good example of competitive berry running. Some mistakes were made here and there on the team that enabled the berries to even out, but that's to be expected from 2 very good teams playing at an even level. But you could see how quickly everyone moved exactly to where they wanted to be. Particularly, having your speed warriors get up out of near gate means that they are immediately positioned to be the clear warrior, to be the offensive objective guard. And that was how gold was able to get a slight berry lead at the beginning. And that's the 2-2 opener versus the 2-2 opener. Let's take a look at a game whenever a team runs 2-2 berries on blue and another team runs 3-1 snail on gold team. You see they both open up below middle, but gold rotates. Each one gets a vanilla out of near. 2 berries get docked in for blue. Snail gets immediately killed for gold, but they are immediately running it, and she gets back there. So Snail's moving marginally, getting locked out as the queen is playing defensive guard early on, and Checkers comes to support. But the early ledge guards for gold team also stop those berries dead in their tracks. The game has largely stabilized. There have been some picks here and there. Each team just trying to get to their formation. Gold trying to keep up 2 speed warriors. And I would say right about here, opener is fully ended. Whenever Gold Skulls is finally able to get up. The composition here is 2 speed warriors for gold team, 1 vanilla for gold, versus 2 vanillas for blue, 1 speed warrior for blue. Blue has 2 berries in, and Snail has marginally moved towards gold. The rest of the game will be stabilizing around these objectives and trying to push them. This wasn't a particularly strong display of objective pressure, but is noteworthy for how quickly defensive guards move to stop the enemy's objective and how strong that can be early on. Keeping a team to 2 berries this far into the beginning of the game is a very strong job from gold, and that Snail has barely moved, and that's good work from blue. So this is how a lot of top tier night maps unfold when teams run Snail versus berries, particularly because the enemy was running berries. That meant that gold team was capable of getting up 2 speed warriors because there's just not a lot going on early on as far as warrior pressure to deny gates. And that's what I have to say about 2-2 versus 3-1 on night. So the final matchup I want to talk about is 3-1 versus 3-1, both teams riding Snail. So you can see what ends up happening is that the teams don't opt for going straight to the Snail. It's not going to be advantageous when you know the opponent is running Snail. You're not going to be able to get control of it right away. And so you see those drones provided little utility, playing around on the speed gates, ensuring their speed warriors get up, or going out and bumping out the far gate to try to stop the drones up. But this seems pretty normal at this point. Opener's over. Gold lost a warrior in the process. That wasn't good for them, but blue was able to get their full formation pretty readily. Gold had theirs, but just got a bad clip. Blue ends up with control of the Snail because they had that warrior advantage and had the defensive guard move straight into the space. And you can see very little objective pressure once the game is stabilized for each teams. Gold's a little bit on the back foot, but that's not super surprising for any team. But this isn't in any sort of way a terrible position for either team to be in right at opener. And so that really is the end of what a lot of 3-1 Snail matchups look like. They frankly, both queens clash, warriors get up, and then you move to take the Snail control after that. It takes a little longer. You can only really capitalize on early Snail pressure, typically, if the enemy is running berries.
And so those are the core concepts of how you should be opening up on Night Map to facilitate your formations and objectives. Whether or not you're running 2/2 berries or 3/1 snail, you can see that the queen going to midgate or below midgate can have a lot of impact early on for what objectives you're able to move, whether or not you can move snail at all, and where your warriors are able to get up, defending near gate or not. I loved doing this video. I think Night Map has some of the most nuanced, interesting dynamics at opener, and I feel similarly about Dust Map. Dust Map's my favorite map, and I cannot wait to touch this video and share my thoughts with you guys. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to talk to you more about Dust Map in the next episode.